Kokushibo, the Upper Moon one, wasn't just a demon, he was a perfected warrior. This Elden Ring build captures his power, precision, and presence exactly as he should feel. I'll cover his stats and character foundation, the weapons and equipment that embody his blade, the abilities and ashes of war that reflect his style, and the gameplay that makes you fight like the Upper Moon one himself.
Chill in the air, but the soul feels warm. Peace in the heart is the quiet storm.
Character customization and stats. So as far as your race for the character is concerned, you can pretty much use anybody that you want to use. Just make sure that you get the right skin tone. Make sure that you set the facial features to what you want to set them to. I just left it at this because I don't care to try to like get into the full customization of the facial features. But as long as I got the hair, I tried to get the tattoos, not the tattoos. I tried to get the mark that he has, but of course you can only put one tattoo on, and on top of that, none of them really look like the flame marks, except for there's like a lower choice that you can get. But if you want to try to find a different mark that can get you as close as possible, then by all means. If you don't want to use it, that's fine too. So going into stats, we're going to start with Vigor. Vigor should be set to 60. One, because Kokushibo is the upper rank 1 demon, so he should have the biggest health bar, but also because in game the soft cap for Vigor is at 60. You won't get any more gains from health if you put points in the Vigor, so leave it at 60. Next up is Mind. You need 50 Mind, mainly because Kokushibo has a lot of different magical attacks that he could use, so you want to make sure that your pool is large enough for you to use them. Alright, next up is Endurance, and Endurance can be left at 35 just because you don't need to carry that much. You can carry extra weapons if you want to, but for the sake of this specific build, I just left it at 35. Then we have Strength, which you can leave at 30 because you don't need high strength with this build. You're typically looking at a higher dexterity build. You want to use the swords to proc bleed and stuff, so you don't need that much strength. Most of the weapons don't scale with strength, so you can leave it at 30. So this is where we start going back up a little higher with dexterity, because Kokushibo is a swordsman. So you're going to have a sword in your hand at all times, or almost at all times. So you might as well go ahead and have a good level of dexterity, because most weapons scale with it anyway. So with intelligence, you want to scale that up to about 70, because that's what's required for you to use Renala's moon move. But ultimately, you're going to need high intelligence to use a lot of the moves that would coincide with Kokushibo's character. So I don't use Faith in this build, but you can if you want to sub out some of the sorceries or just commingle the sorceries with the incantations. And then finally we have Arcane, which is set at 60. The reason why I set it at 60 is because I still want to proc bleed on any enemy that I can, and sometimes you can dual wield with Kokushibo because he doesn't just have one. He does have just one sword, but in the series he moves so fast he might as well have 10 of them. So you want to utilize a high arcane rating just so that way you can proc bleed a little bit quicker. Weapons and equipment. So to start off, we got the Nagakiba, which is supposed to mimic the long sword that Kokushibo has. Pause. But the whole point is to mimic the coldness of the moon breathing techniques that he has. So for this build, we also have to have Moonveil. Why would we not have Moonveil when this is a moon breathing swordsman? So the whole point of using Moonveil is to mimic the moon breathing techniques that Kokushibo has. So next up we have Rivers of Blood, which this is our main bleed weapon right here. We want to use this partially because with the way it looks, it kind of mimics Kokushibo's monstrous sword as he progresses in battle. This will help us proc bleed a whole lot more. So now we're on to the Carrion Regal Scepter, which is what allows us to use our moon breathing techniques, such as Renala's full moon. So this is what's going to help us give that illusion that we are a full-fledged moon breather. Moving into talismans, we got Shard of Alexander to increase skill powers. We have Taker's Cameo to get health for each kill. We got Rotten Wing's Sword Insignia to increase the power of successive hits. And an Ancestral Spirit's Horn just to get FP back. So you can also sub out one of the talismans for Lord of Blood's Exaltation. This is just a means to power up your attacks when you've procced bleed. So if you want to run that dual wield build, then you can use that with this. Okina's Mask is optional if you want to increase dexterity while you are wielding the swordsman, but me personally, I don't like it because it doesn't go with the cosmetics. Then I have Raptor's Black Feathers. I feel like this is the closest to Kokushibo's outfit, as it has the little cape. It has a mysterious look to it, so why not? Then we have Malakat's gauntlets, just because they're dark. I like them. They're dark. And then his greaves as well, because they're dark. So they kind of go with the aesthetic. And so this is a 360 view of the character. As you can see, I have all of the item pieces together. He looks kind of mysterious. Hair looks like Kokushibo's, but hey, well, you know, it's not quite there. Not as close as I would want it to be, but given what Elden Ring gives, you know, I give this a solid B. Abilities, the ones not shown already. Gameplay style. So you have to understand that when playing as Kokushibo, he is a master swordsman. He is a master of his craft, a master of his art, and all he cares about is being number one. So when you're going against opponents as Kokushibo, you have to walk in like you own the place. Kokushibo owns the place when he walks in. It doesn't matter the type of opponent, it doesn't matter their special abilities, it doesn't matter their fighting prowess. His prowess will always exceed their prowess. So when you play this character, make sure that you have the same level of pride, arrogance, ego, whatever you want to call it. Even if you don't want to call it ego, because he really doesn't show much ego now that I think about it. However, anytime that you step onto the field, you better make sure that you come with it. And also learn to understand that when you play as Kokushibo, Kokushibo is not necessarily aggressive, but he is so confident to the point where it doesn't matter if it's one opponent or 20. Kokushibo knows the outcome of the fight before the fight even starts. He doesn't fear losing because he knows that he's gonna win the match one way or another. The only thing that Kokushibo cannot stand is the fact that he may get hit or possibly beaten up by common things that would easily kill a normal man. So just keep that in mind when you want to play as Kokushibo. Closing remarks. So, quick disclaimer, I am not anywhere near the best Elden Ring player. I have had more than my fair share of losses when I have played this game. I've had my frustrations with certain bosses and certain playstyles, and I've always defaulted to the same type of playstyles, which is always a hit and run, or I'm gonna summon a mimic to fight the match for me while I just shoot something from afar. And with this build, it's been very difficult because I have to get up in their face and I have to fight them. Even with using Moonveil special ability, I still have to get up close and personal. So while it has been, you know, a very challenging run, it's also been fun to be able to play this character and to really get into the mindset of a person who gets up close and personal with the opponents. Overall, I did have fun challenging myself to play in a different way. Even with just limiting myself to the swords and some of the magic, I did try to avoid using the magic, but it is what it is. Alright, and that about wraps up this build video. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. Please do me a favor, hit that like button, comment what your favorite build is and what you would like to see next. And as for me, I'm going to take Kokushibo to the Halleck tree because he has some unfinished business with the supposed legendary swordsman Melania. Stay tuned if you want to see a video like that. Until then, I'm Uncle Dorian, and you've watched an Uncle Dorian presentation. Stay beautiful.
Cool breeze moves where the night is free. Calm waves drift like a melody. Uncle Dorian speaks with an easy tone.